After looking at the whole picture, I could see where Gretchen Whitmer would want to bribe Mr. Gordon, the former Department of Health and Human Services here in Michigan. I want to make a point that, it's a pattern for these guys here in Department of Health and Human Services as to how they attack people in order to take their kids. Just so we're all on the same page, if you look at my case, it mirrors how these guys maliciously go after certain people in order to wrongfully take their kids. I've got so many families that I've spoken to with regards to this situation. The pattern of the maliciousness is everywhere. You can tell when they're being malicious how they do it. For instance, their history and pattern of attacking people's homestead. They do everything they possibly can to get these people removed from their home, even if they own their home. Because there's only so many causes they can use in order to remove a child. In my case, they used the fact that I was a victim, not realizing they were violating the Victims' Rights Act, and they probably knew but didn't care. Because there's a pattern of that going on within Michigan in the Department of Health and Human Services. Now, in my case specifically, Gretchen Whitmer's husband is a dentist. I have evidence that my daughter's teeth were not in the condition that they claim it was when she was removed. They didn't even use that as a reason to remove her until after she was taken. These people, this is also a pattern with these guys. When they can't find drugs or alcohol or any other legal cause to take your child in Michigan, I have a sneaky suspicion that this is the same pattern that they're using across the country. When they can't obtain a legitimate reason to take your child, they'll make things up. They confessed. My lawyer got the psychiatrist who was supposed to overwrite the doctor that did my interview. Now, why do you have a shrink who needs somebody else to second their decision before it becomes valid? Because they're on suspension. Why would you use a doctor like that? Especially knowing the potential for my case going into the media. The overhead of this woman this psychiatrist verified that they were mistaken in the statements that they had obtained from Tiara in making their decision. Specifically when talking about alcohol and smoking. Tiara had told them she wished her dad would quit drinking and smoking. They said they altered her statements. And it was proven in court that they altered her statements, saying that she wished me and her dad, her biological father, would quit drinking and smoking. I don't drink. Everybody who knows me knows I don't drink. Everybody who knows me knows I don't do drugs. Everybody who knows me knows I use marijuana, and I use it medically. So, these guys knew that when they wrongfully removed my daughter. So the only other reason for them to have wrongfully removed her is to cover their own butts, which is why we have ethics codes in our country to prevent that type of thing from happening. We're just not following them. And where Gretchen Whitmer is concerned, I could see where she would bribe Mr. Gordon because of her husband. Again, her husband's a dentist. And when you're trying to lie about people's teeth, that's a shame. Oh, and by the way, I don't drool. They tried to say that I was in such bad condition that I was laid out in a nursing home drooling, waiting to die. I don't drool. These are the rumors that are going around and the things that are being said to different people, none of which is true. And then when you stand there and look at the facts, they never even had cause to remove my daughter. That's the problem. They had cause to remove Mr. Lee because he was a convicted felon who had been to prison for armed robbery, who had 2 handguns and a box of bullets, and a court order that said he wasn't supposed to be there. Rather than do their job and just simply remove Mr. Lee, They took my daughter. It would have cost them way less to remove Mr. Lee than to remove my daughter. All of this money and time they spent wrongfully taking my child. Did somebody pay for them to do that? That's what it looks like to me. That's human trafficking, and it's against the law, especially when I didn't give them permission to even allow my daughter to leave the state, and they did it anyway. They should be ashamed of themselves. All I can do is pray for them. I pray that God shows them the same grace and mercy that He's blessed me with. Now, remember, a couple weeks ago here, I walked through fire because my RV exploded because of a leaky gas valve. Remember that when you're dealing with people. With God's love. God bless America. Have a blessed day. And back the blue.